The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're talking with a shop owner who spent nearly 2 decades trying to prove that character, kindness, and profitability do not have to be enemies. Our guest today is Curt Morgan, owner of Shadow Mountain Auto Service in Phoenix, Arizona. Curt started Shadow Mountain in 2008 with the motto, "Character Counts," with the goal of building what he calls one of the most ethical, customer-oriented repair shops in the Valley. Reviews show a long-running Phoenix shop with strong customer ratings, long-term community trust, and a reputation built around honesty, fairness, and dependable service. What stood out in the prep call is that Curt doesn't talk like someone chasing a fast buck. He talks like someone who believes a business should have a higher purpose. He said flat out that he's prouder of the fact that everyone who works there says it's the best job they've ever had than he is of the money that the company makes. Curt and his wife Cindy have built the shop around relationships, not just with customers, but with employees, former employees, and the broader community around them. They host holiday meals for people who don't have anywhere else to go. And some of the people who still show up are former employees who haven't worked at the shop in years. Curt also brings a wider industry perspective to the table. He sits on the BBB board and has served for years on Phoenix's Automotive Repair Advisory Committee, helping review serious complaints and seeing firsthand what separates good shops from bad ones. That experience has only made him more convinced that ethics, empathy, and professional standards are what actually sustain a shop long term. At the same time, it hasn't been an easy season. In the prep call, Curt talked openly about the last few years bringing an avalanche of hardship. 2 parents with dementia, his own near-fatal surgery complication, Cindy's paralysis after a fall, leadership challenges inside the shop, and the pressure of not just running the repair business, but also a trucking company. And yet, even with all of that, the shop is still standing, the team is still largely intact, and the mission is still the same. Do the right thing, tell the truth, and lead with character. In this episode, we're going to dig into what it takes to build a shop where people actually like working together, how Curt thinks about character and emotional intelligence and leadership, what he's learned from serving the industry beyond his own 4 walls, and why some of the most important things a shop owner builds will never show up on a P&L. Curt, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast. How you doing today, sir?
You're calling me sir again. Stop that. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And yeah, I should have cut that out for the prep call and all the conversation we've had so far. I should have known sir wasn't going to cut it. I know when we're getting started here on the show, everybody in the industry seems to have one car that gets them excited, something that they're either was a passion project for them growing up or an aspiration that they want to own or build one day. What's that car for you? What gets you excited?
Oh, gosh. I guess my big car was a 68 Charger that I had back in El Paso, Texas. And I will admit in a bad way that I street raced for years. And back in the 80s, it wasn't frowned on like it is now, whatever. But I ran that car so much and never lost a race and got out here into Phoenix. And people in Phoenix knew about that, heard about that car from El Paso, Texas. That was
wow.
So my baby ever since. And there's been a whole slew of them. I'm a car nut. I am still passionate about automotive after 40 years of being in the automotive business. My wife is a bigger car nut than I am. Yeah, we're not. We're still passionate. I could talk for an hour on just the cars I have had or want.
Yeah, and that passion really stood out to us when we were on the prep call. And it stands out in just the passion that you can see from your customers leaving your reviews. Tell me a little bit, for the people who don't know your background, don't know your story, how did you get to where you're at? What pushed you to start your own business, and kind of walk us through just the arc of your career, if you will?
I was in the Bay for almost 30 years. I was a grunt manual laborer, a technician. I guess that's not it. And I was really proud of it. I did a good job and I was super excited about it. Being a technician, I use the term, it's like peeing on yourself in a dark pair of pants. You get a nice warm feeling, but nobody else notices, right? Because you're alone, you're weaving through a minefield of stuff. And if getting that nice warm feeling that nobody else knows about, if that doesn't excite you, if you're not good at being alone that way, then you're not cut out really to be a an automotive technician, right? So I did that forever and was constantly aware of how dumb the owners were that I worked for. They just didn't know what they were doing. So I started my own business, and about 2 years in, I wanted to go back and apologize to about 90% of them because I realized, oh, that's why you do it that way. That's why it happens that way, right? And so, yeah, my motivation was not just money. It was freedom, and I thought I could do a better job, and I thought I'm so smart. And now that I'm friends with a whole bunch of owners and everything else, we all laugh about the same things that we learned in that learning curve of starting a business, right?
Yeah. And I know that you put character counts as the center of the shop culture really from day one.
Yep.
What was it that you wanted your place to stand for that you weren't seeing at your other places in the industry? And tell me the story behind character counts.
I'm just a big character guy. I'm big on all the things that go along with having strong character. It takes spine, it takes guts, it takes courage to be honest all the time and to do the right thing and to do almost all the time. Nobody's perfect. But I mean, pushing for that character, pushing for, you surround yourself with people who are also honest and loyal and do the right things. They're good friends and they're good people and they're good members of the community. These things all really matter. And we push that. You can't make somebody that doesn't have character have it. But what you do is you have to weed out the people that don't. And I'm really, again, I'm super proud of the people that we work with. We just have the best bunch of people. I won't say that they're technically the world's greatest mechanics and service writers and everything else, although I have some that are truly exceptional, but it's really the fact that they're such good people. I'd stand by every single person that works for me in either business. And if I didn't, then I don't keep them.
Yeah. I think you kind of touched on this idea that you can't teach character. And I would say that's absolutely probably true by the time they get to you in their professional career. But talk to me about some of those influences growing up that helped shape the character that you have now and how you got here. Because I think that the system that you grew up in and the support that you had is really what grew that character based on our prep call.
Somehow, and you never know. I know people that have came out of great environments with their family that are sneaky, underhanded people, right? But I think probably you give your parents and grandparents so much credit. I grew up in a little town in New Mexico, and we moved away. I moved around. I was in military installations and stuff like that. But my grandfather was a really big name in my hometown, founded First National Bank Corporation. He was whatever. But it was so much that he did that showed character and that did the right thing and returned to his community and did community service. He was all these different boards, water boards, and just everything that he was, that you were back in the 60s and 70s. And that really, I grew up doing that and seeing that you give back to your community and all that other stuff. And then my father was the chief of police in that little hometown briefly. He was a sheriff he was a cop for many years and then the sheriff. And again, another one of those industries like the automotive industry where you either decide you're going to be honest and show character in the beginning and then you just do it, or you don't. And there's no bouncing back and forth between that. And I'm lucky to be exposed to people who espouse those idealistic views, even if they're not really relevant so much in today's society. What the heck? They're a whole lot more fun to say, I know I stuck to my views and my idealism.
Yeah. And I think if we just let that die out as a society, we're going to reap what we sow. I think we have a responsibility to carry this forward. And that's really part of what we're doing here on the show is showing people that you can run an ethical business and do things the right way and still make money and still serve people, serve that higher purpose you talked about.
You're exactly right. And you see in public life so many people that are these paragons of virtue and honesty and all that other stuff. And it turns out that behind the scenes they're really just honest scumbags, right? And so I hate to be here, the one saying that. You don't know. You know us briefly and a little bit. And it's unlikely that a little guy like me is going to turn out to be hiding a bunch of stuff. However, yeah, it's not what you get out there and advertise and talk about. It's what you do behind the scenes that really matters. It's day in and day out. It's the grind of every single day that matters, not the big flashy times that you talk about it.
Yeah. Isn't it a John Wooden quote? I think that's character is what you do when nobody's looking.
Yeah, somebody, I don't know whose quote.
I think it was John Wooden. I may be wrong. I may be misattributing it, which will just give people a reason to comment on it later. So
those coaches all have the best quotes. They're the best motivational people are coaches, right?
Yeah, they're great. And that actually points me to something that you said on the prep call. We touched on it in the opener is one of the strongest things you shared, in my opinion, is that you're more proud of the fact that your team, everyone on your team says it's the best job that they've ever had. And that's more important to you than any money that you make. That's a big deal as a business owner who took the risk, put in the investment and needing to make a return on investment. Why is that such a big deal for you? And then follow up on that is, what do you think you and Cindy have done intentionally or unintentionally that creates that kind of environment?
And just seeing Cindy and I both are just more motivated by the value of improving people's lives that we like and know and care about. Everybody says that, oh, you spend more time with the people you work with than you do with your family a lot of times. And this is true. And impacting their lives in a positive way there is something that you should aspire to. Again, that goes back to character. The whole idea of using people for the time that you have them to make money and that's it, they're disposable. I've been in those environments, and more power to them. They choose to run their business that way, and people choose to work for them that way. I don't. Every day you go down there, and my wife hugs everybody every day before they leave the shop, right? And you've got people that show up to help each other move. And in other times of their life, when they go out and do things, they sit at each other's tables for dinner. And we promote that in a huge way, but we can't make them do that. We just hire the right people and stick them in there. And you say intentionally, it's been very intentional. Over the years, the three people who have made us the most money, and this is where it comes into, it's time to be tough, right? The two managers that were both in my shop, little shop, there's their manager and one of my service writers. And those two people, and plus the best technician we have ever had there, we fired them because they didn't fall in line with the values that we show. Not that they were blatantly ripping people off, because they weren't. But when you're a service writer and you're like, oh, Miss Davis, oh yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. She walks out the door and you go, oh, you've done blah, blah, blah. You're done, because that if you're not truly sincere about trying to take care of people and do the right thing and do what's best for our customers, then you don't fit in. And what you do is you let everybody else know that's the right attitude as well. We are not faking it. We're in a neighbor. We don't advertise. We're one of the busiest shops per bay in the country. I told you where the metrics are, and we do that without advertising. We have whole neighborhoods where one person came to us and their next door neighbor came to us and their next door neighbor, and then the person across the street and the person across the street from them. And then it's old home week. They sit in our porch and talk. They've seen each other and stuff like that. Those things are, how do you put a price on that? And sure, we make money too, when we could make more. I'll be right up front. We sacrifice money some for having the environment that we have and the way that we put pressure on. We don't sell people stuff they don't need, and everybody says that, but it's really true. We're underselling by so much, and we're actually making a mistake of not selling people. We have to constantly push to get people, my service writers, on the page of it's not right to not sell people what they need. But I would rather be having that fight, and we are. I'd rather be having that fight. Look, there's more here to be sold, and there's more here to be profitable and constructive and do the right thing for the customer, and let's work on that, than I would be having to consult with people to talk to them about. I don't think that's really necessary to sell this stuff that early or whatever.
Yeah, and I know we covered that stat of profitability per bay or efficiency per bay on our prep call. But if you don't mind, I just want our listeners to really understand frankly, the position of authority that you're coming from and the way that you're running your shop. Would you mind sharing that with me again? The stats that talk about how you're ranking across the country in terms of the way that your bays are operating.
Oh, we were with the largest management consulting company for about 5 years. And they consult with 1,500 shops across the country. We were always, and they don't show everybody's figures, but they show your rankings. We were in the top 10 a lot of all those shops in the country. Were always in the top 10% of per bay production. And that was when we left them as AT. I had great experience, but after a while they start saying the same things over and over. You're not going to do them. They're not going to do them. And there you go. But we left them, it's been 6 or 7 years ago now. But at that time, I think we were doing yearly about $1.6 million, $1.7 million. And now we're doing over $2 million.
Well, I just wanted to, out of
four bays.
Yeah. And that's fantastic. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to share that, because I think that people often miss what their bays are truly capable of. And I think that everybody really puts that number way too low because they think that their team can't realistically hit some of those numbers. And it might be a culture problem. It might be an operations problem. It might be a marketing problem. But we really need to understand in this industry what a bay is capable of. And they need to hear that somebody out there is doing it, and that it's not some pipe dream or that there's anything special about it. It's hiring the right people and getting the right culture in place is a really big part of that.
Yep.
So kind of on that same vein, when it comes to hiring, you mentioned you might not have the best techs in the world, although you've got some exceptional ones. What are the one or two questions that you're asking when you're hiring to try to find the people with the higher emotional intelligence and the higher character to help find the right fit for you?
We interview people. We have an initial interview. I never ask questions about what is the function of an EGR and here's this code and where would you go with it. I think that's stupid. I just do. And I'm sorry to all the people that look at it and go, oh, we're going to test them for the E. I guarantee you that technician in that bay probably knows more than you do. Even if he's a really crappy technician, we can work through that. We ask questions about character. And I put you out in the bay. I know in the first day or two, I was there for 30 years. I know whether or not you can turn wrenches and do it efficiently and do it the right way and not have comeback. The first initial interview, we just talk about who are you and what do you want and everything. The second interview typically is 3 to 4 hours. And my wife basically shines a spotlight in their face and pins them on everything. We've had people confess things to us in that interview that they don't tell their family. My wife is the best person on planet Earth at bringing them. The first hour is just fluff. And then after that, they're tired. And then they're really tired. And then she's beat them down to the point that all they want to do is get out, right? Or they're at least involved in a massive conversation. It is crazy. And when I saw her doing that the first few times, it was like, wow, you get to know somebody. And then once you know somebody, do you want this person working in there? Sure, they're probably going to do a good job, but I did not spend any time talking during that conversation. It's going to come out. Their experiences work in different places, their experiences with their family, their experiences on vacation and with their hobbies and their passions and those things make up a person. And then you hire the person, we'll get the job done. And then you put that person out there and we had a really good record. It's not perfect at all, but we have very low turnover and we have very high standards.
That's fantastic, man. CIA level interrogation from Cindy. I love it.
It's crazy. She'll make you open up and you will tell her everything. We had a guy come in, and I'm really proud of this, but he was gay. And he'd been in the automotive industry for almost 7 years and never told any, worked at several different places, was terrified to tell anybody because they're all talking homophobic remarks around him and everything else. And we found out in the interview when other people didn't know forever. And we hired him and said, you're going to bring your boyfriend to our Christmas. We'll never tell. If you want to keep it to that thing. But I'm going to put you with a bunch of people who are good human beings who are not going to hold that against you. And if they do, you come tell me because I believe in we're not going to do that. And sure enough, he felt comfortable with the good people that we had and told them. And sure enough, his boyfriend came to the Christmas party. And still to this day, both he and it's been 5 or 6 years since they worked and he worked for us, but he and his boyfriend who separated, they both still come in and have their cars done. He works at a different automotive place and still has his car done for us. And his boyfriend, when that guy left and went somewhere else, his boyfriend still brought his car to us and still does to this day. And so does he. So those things are things that I'm proud of because they're people things, not money.
It shows the character. It shows the character counts, like you say. And one of the things that we touched on in the prep call, again, that really stood out, you can't have character if you don't have a spine.
Yep.
That's what you told us in the prep call. I want you to unpack that a little bit and tell me what that looks like day to day for a shop owner, for a business owner anywhere. How do you balance the empathy with the accountability?
It's a balance. And first of all, my wife is there and she's just fantastic with people. They love her. They call her Eagle Eye because she doesn't miss a trick, right? But they also love her. It's crazy what a great rapport she has built with that crew. But I'm the asshole. I don't know if I can say that, but I'm the guy that I get a little criticism. And I think a lot of times it's true, but I don't know how else to do it, that I'm too blunt. Right? You rip the Band-Aid off. If you have to address a problem with somebody, it's not what happens in that moment that counts. It is the relationship that you have built up to that point, right? And so on a day-to-day basis, sometimes it hurts it's with your wife too. Does this dress does it look terrible? Yeah. I think that sucks. The color's bad and it just makes you look bad. You have to say that because if you don't, then you're juggling after that to try and cover for the fact that you were just being nice, but you lied or whatever. Or that you be nice to somebody while you're mad at them. That's a little bit of dishonesty. Not that I've never done that. Not that we can't wait until later to talk about a problem. But on a daily basis, knowing what people are going to think of you and caring what those people are going to think of you and your honesty and the way that you deal with them, those things matter so much. And it's day in and day out. It takes courage. A lot of times I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it because I need to, because I get this right now. It's going to save me a whole bunch of trouble later. and you do that. It's easy to say, you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a big point because we live in a very, how do I say this nicely? We live in a very soft world where everybody's feelings get hurt, but you have to love somebody enough to tell them the truth, even if it's a hard truth.
Yeah.
And I think you touched on something really important about it's the days, weeks, months, hours of investing into somebody and investing into that relationship that allows you to speak that truth into their life and allows them to actually be able to hear it. You don't go up and tell a stranger that they have to change their life, but if you love somebody and you care about them, yeah, you got to tell them the truth because you don't want them to be unaware of the way that they're showing up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell your friend their fly is open.
Yeah. You have to.
On your face. You got something in your beard. Go. It's stuff like that is so important on a daily basis when you get used to it. Now, the flip side is, again, my appearance is that military. I just don't look like what I try to be, right? And what I try to be is truly care. You can't fake it. You can't whatever. The guys that work for me, with me, us, we help them move. We have been to their house helping them with stuff. We have done things completely outside of work that we don't have to do because they are, I hate to use the term lightly, but they're friends. And you say, oh, we're all a family. And I hate that when, oh, we're all a family. I've been here a month and everybody else bitches that you're a bad owner. Don't tell me you're a family, right? However, people working for me 10, 12, and 15 years, and we have been through ups and downs and hardships. My main service writer lives on my property in my casita. And it has for 10 years. That's you. But then the reason that we do a lot of these things, that we get so close to our employees and make them a part of our lives and care, and it matters because the flip side is, and they all know it, that we have the spine to do what's necessary. We have fired people in our office that everybody in the office is crying. But we're going to do what needs to be done because I have a loyalty to the other people out there who are making a living here. And it's hard enough to make money and be profitable and make a living without tolerating stuff from people that is not focused on what is best for Shadow Mountain Auto Service. And they all know that no matter how nice we are, how matter easy we are to get along with, no matter how much we care about them and help them after work and have them over for dinner, the next day they're fired if they don't do the right thing.
Yeah. You don't just get, it's not a family, truly. It's not unconditional love. There are conditions.
Yeah.
You show up, we have high standards, we're going to hold you to them. And on that note, speaking of high standards in the industry, I know you served on the BBB board. You chaired the Phoenix Automotive Repair Advisory Committee. You spent years seeing kind of complaint cases from the outside looking in. The bad shops, the dishonest shops, the incompetent shops, even the good shops that kind of got in a bad situation or got in over their heads, I think is how you described it on our prep call. How has that broader view of the industry at large shaped the way that you run Shadow Mountain? And what do you think more independent owners need to understand about their reputation before they learn it the hard way, before they're in front of your committee?
Again, to be blunt, is just that there are a lot of incompetent owners and people in the industry. And I don't think that very many people, I've known some through my association with BBB. What we do is we adjudicate all the cases. In Phoenix, the BBB in Phoenix is one of the strongest, the top 3 strongest BBBs in the country. In some areas, the BBB is completely irrelevant, and the business model for the BBB is going away with internet reviews and everything else. However, our BBB has made itself really relevant and done a lot of stuff. And we have the ARAC committee, which adjudicates and oversees all the disputes that they can't resolve at a lower level. So once they get up to us, every couple of months we meet, there's 5 to sometimes 10 or 12 cases that we will go over and say, hey, and we don't have a legal, nothing that we say is legally binding, but if they go to court after 10 or 12 of people with more than 100 combined years of experience, more than 150 combined years of experience in the industry says you're wrong, the chances you're going to go to court and win are pretty small. So I take it very seriously. And what we see is not that people set out to be dishonest, although there's that, but those people are usually so slick, they don't see their problems wind up there. The people arguing for principle that get up to us, what they are, and believe me when I say this, I know this is harsh, but if you are incompetent, you are also dishonest. Because to pitch yourself as a place that somebody wants to take their car, when you know that your guys or you or your policies or whatever make it so that there's going to be a lot of poor repair come out of that shop, that's dishonest. I know that you're just struggling because you're dumb. But the reality is it's dishonest to continue in business when you know what you're doing is hurting people. You're not repairing their car up to a good, really good high standard. And I hate that because I'm so passionate for our business. I have empathy and understanding that they're just in over their heads and trying to make a little bit of money. And the farther down that hole they get of screwing things up and trying to make money, screwing things up, and then they go through people because they don't know how to keep that. And then their people are crappy because they don't know how to keep them. And then they just had a terrible environment and they're frantically trying to keep themselves above water while they're losing everything. And then they get a case before the BBB, and it just shows where every step of the way they just handle it wrong. And there's so many of those people that everybody that went to that shop that had a problem that we didn't see, there's hundreds for every one that we see. What are they going to do? They look at the independent shops and they go, they're not very professional. I better stick with the dealer. And then they go to the dealer, and in a very slick and sophisticated way, they get ripped off 4 times worse, but it's slick and sophisticated. So they're fine with it.
Yeah. It's the power of advertising. And I think there needs to be truth in advertising, obviously, given the nature of what I do. But I want to touch on something else a little bit more on the personal side. I know that you shared some stuff with us on the prep call. You've been going through a lot lately. It's been a rough couple of years on the personal side of things. Health issues, family caregiving, leadership changes, trying to run 2 businesses. And you've managed to keep everybody steady kind of throughout the whole thing for the most part. If you were talking to another shop owner who feels like life's kind of hitting them from every direction, what do you want them to hear about leading through that hard season without losing who you are?
I curl up in the fetal position and cry a lot.
That's hard. I actually believe that could be true. I know some business owners that I've felt that way.
I used to want to do that if I had a bad week now, but then you're all excited because you have a great week. And you've been in business for a while. Give me a quarter before I start to worry. Give me a quarter of bad business or something. But what are you going to do? You wake up every morning and you just do the best you can. And again, that's courage, that's character. You can't look at, oh my God, everything seems so, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? All of those phrases. But I will say that here, just like I said, when you're having a difficult discussion with an employee, what happens in that moment is not dependent on what you say or do in that moment. It's so much dependent on the relationship that you've had in the past. And so by the same token, what we have done to make it through, and my dad has dementia, her mom has dementia. That's been going on and obviously getting progressively worse because that's what happens for a couple of years. And both of those are a separate full-time job. So that has been a stress. We started another business because I got bored and it was dumb, but whatever. I have a trucking company now too. We have roll-off dumpster business and we're working on that. So in the last 4.5 years, we've had 5 days off. And 4 of them have been go back to New Mexico to take care of my dad. You don't, and Cindy fell, she's getting better. And you helped. I told her what your story about how you had nerve damage in your hands. Yeah. And she has a hand that's paralyzed from having that fall, and it's going to get better. And the fact that you got better is another one of those. So thank you. But what do? All the hospital visits, all the PT, all of the stuff. I've also had 3 shoulder surgeries because between weightlifting and martial arts and everything else, I just tear myself up. I'm too old to be doing it, right? So all that stuff, when it hurts, you get up and go to work anyway. That's it. Then it works, and eventually you get through it and things get better. That's it.
And talk to me about the mindset of how it's got to be hard to take yourself out of that full-time caregiving job with your parents and what they're going through, and then be able to put your full attention where it needs to be in the shop. How are you creating intentional spaces in your mind to deal with that? Or was it truly just taking it one hit at a time and refusing to quit?
Yeah, I don't have a strategy. I don't know what's coming next. Sometimes it's, oh my God, what's coming next? The phone rings or you look over and it's, I see a text message from somebody. This is never good. Here we go. But you get hit so many times with that stuff that after a while, you just go, oh, whatever it is, we're going to deal with it. And we're able to because we have, again, built a foundation. I have the best marriage of anybody that I know. We're complete dorks. We are. We can't wait. We've been together 30 years. We can't wait to go home and hang out today. I'm going to hang out tonight with my wife, and I'll be the happiest I've ever been. And we don't go anywhere. We don't go. And we haven't. We had a whole life outside of work and hobbies and passions and things that I did. And all that quit when I started my trucking company. So we have been just focused on each other. That doesn't help everybody else, but I will tell you that every single day, waking up and going to work and doing what needs to be done, no matter how bad it hurts or how hard it is or what. I tore my shoulder when we started our trucking business like a month in, and there's no way I could be out of the truck. We'd go bankrupt. So my shoulder was torn completely off the bone in 2 different places. And I spent 2.5 years working every day until I could get that shoulder fixed. We created enough space so we could do that. And I don't know if that's exceptional or not, but it's something that you have to do, and you just do it. And it's amazing how you get through it. I had a book that I read many years ago. It's called All You Can Do Is All You Can Do, but All You Can Do Is Enough. That's a difficult title, right? But it's true. Do everything that you can do. Wake up and give everything that you can possibly do. And then I beat myself up because I was a little bit lazy today. I could have done more. And my wife says I'm too hard on myself, but you do stuff like that and constantly look to get better, and usually things will. And if they don't, guess what? Start all over, build again. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that the mindset approach there for me is, whether intentional or you're aware of it or not, it's that mindset of the human body and the human mind are capable of so much more than we give it credit for. But it's like a muscle. You've got to build up that tolerance for risk. You've got to build up that tolerance for change. You've got to build up that tolerance for kind of taking it right in the chin and moving forward. A boxer doesn't grow a world-class chin by accident. It happens because he's been hit a few times.
A little bit brain dead after all that. Yeah, and we started the shop. I started Shadow Mountain Auto Service in 2008 because I'm so smart about what the economy's doing, right? Yeah. And we had the opportunity. We jumped on it, and I don't know. But we lost our house. I had a guy tell me there was 16 shops a day. As a big guy in the automotive industry came around, but there were 16 shops a day going bankrupt in that environment here in Phoenix. There was all the big shops around me went under in that amount of time, and we had just started with nothing. The shop that we took over had 4 owners in 5 years, and all of them had gone bankrupt. And the last 2 or 3 for sure were dishonest and doing terrible things, had a terrible reputation. The place was oh my God, it's the ugliest place you ever saw. And so we took over with all these great ideas, all the stuff we were going to do, and damn near lost everything. We lost our house. Now we got it rented back, and then later we bought it back and everything. But technically on paper, we lost our house. We were paying half a car payment on a credit card and getting groceries on the other half of what was left on the credit card, and finding couch cushion money to make it. And it was a great time in our lives. It really was, because we felt like we were building something and moving forward, and we made it. And as we built from, oh my gosh, $300, we did $300 in one day. We're all going to be rich. Let's buy a Learjet. And now last year we did over $2 million, and it's fun. You're making progress. It's fun. It's dangerous and it's stressful and all that stuff. But if you don't have a tolerance for that, if you can't wake up every day with courage and face it and do what needs to be done, then don't get started.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could go on and on this subject for forever. I think you and I are of a similar mind there, but I want to get to something that we ask almost everybody that comes on the show. And we've touched on it a few places throughout our conversation today, but when you hear the phrase honest mechanic or honest shop, honest garage, what does that mean to you personally? How does that show up in the way that you and Cindy run Shadow Mountain Auto Service?
Honesty is dependent on your definition of honesty. And I think most people have at least the same area of definition of honesty. And honesty means you will represent what you did as what it was to anybody at any time, anywhere, right? If I'm honest, I'm not good looking. And I'll tell anybody anywhere, nobody's putting me on the cover of a magazine or a calendar or something like that. It's honest. It's true. And what I think most people are more honest than not. I think most people lack a little bit of spine, and they crumble and fall apart under really hard circumstances. I think being honest about, hey, somebody comes to the counter and for an oil change and you need a couple of things, and they really do, and that's honest. And most shops go through that. Almost every shop does that perfectly. What happens when something falls apart? You made a mistake. We made a mistake. Do you tell the customer it's our fault and we're going to take care of it? We had, I don't know, it's been a couple of years, but I remember I had a technician check out a car, and we sold the ticket. The guy said, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on that. If it's over a certain amount, then I'm not going to spend the money. And so we spent like $2,500. He said, man, that's right about as much as I wanted to spend. It was a van. And that's about as much as I wanted to spend on that air conditioning work and everything else, but it's good. Went out there and looked, and the technician missed that the whole front end was wiped out. $1,700 of the front end work. What do? Well, you've already done the air conditioning work, or it's almost done. So we did all that work for free and redid his front end because we just put him in a situation that he would have chosen not to spend the money. In some shops will intentionally ignore, you don't really need that, so therefore you'll spend the money with us. And I think that's dishonest. So doing what's right for the customer and doing what you will gladly and happily, this is what happened, and I will tell you everything about it, and I stand by it, as that's something I'm proud of. That's honesty. And I think it's not a matter of what people set out to do originally. It's when they find themselves in tough situations. That's when honesty counts. It doesn't count when it's easy.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important distinction. It's easy to be honest when you're telling somebody a happy truth.
Yep.
It's a little harder when you know that there's going to be a financial burden or an emotional burden on you, or if you messed up.
Every day you cross that bridge. Somebody comes in with and we get it. They come in from one of the big chain places and they've got an estimate, and it's usually so overselling, it's not even funny, right? You need $3,000 to work and put it up. No, it doesn't need any of that, or half of that, or whatever. We see that quite a bit. But sometimes they come in and they're like, oh, we heard from all our friends that you're great, and here's the estimate, and we know you're going to do better, and here you go. You put it up, and the person and the estimate that was written was exactly right, or even missed some things. And now what do? You have to be honest. You know they're going to be like, oh, those guys are worse than the last guys. But honesty is honesty. Even if it's going to make you look bad, even if it's not going to make you make money, even if it's not whatever, just tell the truth, period.
Yeah, I love that, Curt. And one of the things that we try to do, we're building a community of listeners and a community of guests on the show. What's the best way for people to connect with you or learn more about Shadow Mountain Auto Service?
We're online. You want to connect with me? I don't know who would or why. I'm there.
Yeah. And for people out there who are listening and not in front of Google, it's shadowmountainauto.com. And
we're on Facebook too. I know that's for old people, but we are there. I'm old, so we started.
I spend a lot of the time on Facebook, so it just is part of the industry. But yeah, if you're out there listening and you want to dive deeper on any of the topics that we covered kind of high level with Curt today, I encourage you to reach out. Curt has been awesome on the prep call, awesome on today's show. I just want to say a big thanks for taking the time to talk with us, man. I really appreciate it.
Glad to do it. If I can help the industry, that's my thing. I'm passionate about the industry. You guys are doing a good thing. You really are. Anytime that all the owners can get together and empathize and see some of the things that everybody else is going through, sure made me feel better. After I've been for a while, I came as a technician. I don't know any owners. That's a whole different world. Then you start meeting them and getting to know them. And oh my gosh, the greatest support group ever, because the things we have to go through as owners, right? And so many things that, oh no, you're doing fine. Or then they had great ideas that I stole from them. I'll be the first one to tell them, but all my good ideas I took from somebody that's smarter. So much of that networking, like we're doing right now, it's a great thing. And it's helped me a lot over the years. I'm glad to give back.
That's great, man. And if you're out there and you got value from today's conversation, share this episode with another shop owner, share our show with another shop owner, subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. Leave us a review on the show. It helps the algorithms on the podcasting platforms recommend our show to other shop owners. For more real-world resources for marketing help, you can always reach out to us at honestmechanicmarketing.com. In particular, we did just develop a really cool bay efficiency calculator on our website, so make sure to check that out. But most of all, thank you guys for listening. Thank you again, Curt, for taking the time to share your knowledge. And as always, keep it honest in the garage.
Yeah, systems would be early on. I created this thing I called the Knights of the Round Table. I pulled together family members, an uncle, a cousin, another business owner. All these guys have been in the automotive industry for a while. That it was a group text. It was a meeting I could call once a year to say, hey, what have you seen in this situation? What's a smart decision? What do you do in this scenario when a car comes back? How do you handle this type of customer? Yeah, you put your feet to the fire, and cars will test you all the time. And we always say here, we learn something new every single day. As a shop, we've been here 13 years. I've got a 20 plus year Honda Master Tech. I've got a 30-year independent shop tech, 20-year independent shop tech. And there's still things we see almost every day that you never seen before. And some of those things will create delays, will create challenges, and all of those challenges test your integrity.